Hey TV fans, Board now back with you on this video. I'm going to be talking about The Last of Us Season 2 Episode 3. It is called The Path. Full spoilers from the start of this review. So this is all about the fallout to Joel's dramatic death and about the next part, which is Ellie basically going to go on a revenge mission to Seattle to find Abby and her gang and get revenge for Joel. And by the end of the episode, Dina has also roped her way into the mission. But it's more of a filler episode just because it's more about Ellie's mindset and getting into the state of mind, still mourning Joel, but just setting the works in place so that she can go on this mission and we can get to the next part of the story. So because of that, I think it is the weakest episode of the season overall. It doesn't have as much meat. There are some more filler scenes to it, but that's not to say it's a bad episode, because I still quite enjoy it and enjoy bits of what it's doing. It just feels like something which is more setting things up and like, okay, some of this maybe could be lost, but it does feel more like a filler episode. But as filler episodes go, I think it's perfectly decent and there's some good stuff in here for sure. So we open with Tommy mourning Joel's death still, and we see what a spiritual guy he is because he's at his graveside, and there's something traumatic about the way he has to deal with all this and about the fact that he had to help Ellie drag the body back and all the rest of it. And when you're that close to someone when they've just died and someone who's very personal to you, I can only imagine it's even worse than if you know they're dead and you have to go through the mourning anyway. But just having that close proximity to them just after they've died, I think can only make it more traumatic. But we hear him say hello to Sarah, so we see that they are like spiritual people. We then cut to 3 months later, and Ellie has been in the hospital still dealing with her injuries, dealing with her trauma, and she wakes up, she's had a nightmare. And good old Gail is there on the spot to like check her up and just drop in, see how she's doing, and she's kind of implying certain things. She's digging a bit too much considering Ellie is only just checking herself out of hospital today, because Ellie's doing that against doctor's orders. The doctor's saying, well, maybe you could stay a bit longer, heal up a bit longer, but Ellie's like, no, it's time to move on. And Ellie is very much in self-denial, like, because Gail's there saying, well, I'm here for your self-assessment, I'm here to check up on you. But she starts digging about what Joel was saying to her in episode 1 about, well, he was saying things like that he saved her. It's like, yeah, what did he mean about that? Or what does he have to be sorry about? What's the big secret? And Ellie dismisses it, like there's a lot of people that need saving in this town. Gail, that line, and Gail's like, well, yeah, but I'm not you, Ellie. So she knows something isn't quite right, and this is the biggest indicator that then Ellie knows about Joel's secret, about what he did at the hospital. Now, it could be something other than that, but this is the biggest indicator, at least, and she probably knows that. So what this leads to next is that Ellie goes to Tommy and insists, we need to go to Seattle, we need to, because Dina finds out that they're in Seattle, this group. She works out their location based on some maths and some science and a couple of other things, and Ellie wants to go, but of course they're going to try and block this. They're going to try and say, we need to have a town meeting, we need to have a strategy, and we need to decide together if this is the best thing for all of us. So they have a town meeting, And I do like some of the stuff in the town where you can see there is a process being set up, that it is somewhat of a democracy, and there's a way of doing things. So I do appreciate that because it makes sense. So they select a certain group of speakers to give their opinions on whether they should go or not. So again, it is quite structured. And one woman quite emotively says, "I'm sorry for your loss, Ellie. I'm sorry about what happened to Joel, but it's not the best idea to go." She points out that we are reeling from the attack of the creatures from the last episode, and that we are down in numbers and our resources have been stretched. And the trouble is, if you go in looking for revenge against Joel, and then because the idea is that it wouldn't obviously just be Ellie, it would be a group of people. So she points out that's a big gamble. Then if we lose all of them, we're also leaving the town unguarded. We're down on numbers. So she makes a very good point. And there's a couple of people. At one point, Seth pipes up, because in the last episode, Maria did get Seth to apologise to Ellie for the whole thing at the dance. But Seth pipes up in a very gung-ho type manner. It's like, basically, screw them. It's like, we need to get revenge. They took one of us, so we need to respond in kind. It's very much his thing. But Maria and Tommy are like, so you're not one of the designated speakers, Seth. Pipe down, basically. But you can see what they're doing in the scene. They're starting to stir up emotions. They're starting to... It feels like this town meeting which could get out of hand. And then Ellie reads a prepared speech, which Jesse told her to do earlier, because they were like training together and Jesse was checking up on her. And he said, you can be a bit emotional and just go off half-cocked. And that's not the best way to get people on your side. So he suggested, why not write something down and read a prepared statement. So she does this. And even though it's not 100% convincing, it's a good little moment for her and the way she puts it. And it's like, yeah, we're not really doing this for Joel or for revenge. We would be doing this for justice, is the way she puts it. And I like that Gail calls this out later on, because Gail has a small scene with Tommy. And once again, Catherine O'Hara doing the sarcastic lines it's pretty funny. It's pretty satisfying. Like, yeah, well, what, you weren't convinced by that? So they sort of suspect something is going to go down. And by the end of the episode, the vote goes against Ellie. And it's quite concise. Like, it's quite, I can't remember the numbers, but it's quite weighed in the advantage of no. Which I quite like, because if it was close, or if it was like, okay, Ellie got the vote, you might say that's a little bit too easy, because you can definitely see where other people are coming from in the town. So it's a good thing for the character of Ellie that she has this disappointment, but then it feels like something she would do just to go off anyway. So the votes go against her, but of course... Later on, her and Dina start planning to go out to Seattle on their own basically in the middle of the night, so that no one will really hear them leave. Seth provides Ellie a horse, because Ellie's like, where are we going to get a horse? Well, Seth, who's very much on the side of Ellie now, it seems, provides them with a horse. And Ellie also takes Joel's weapon, so that's a big moment. She intends to use it to kill Abby. And they ride off, and once again, there's some great direction. There's some cool sort of shooting of landscapes as they're riding into Seattle. And this scene, or this episode, has a very Western type feel. Like, the scenery is really beautiful, and the use of like a sunset and things like that. And you can kind of see yourself, okay, getting immersed in the world of the game. And the more we get of Ellie and Dina and their relationship and them just getting to know each other on the way to Seattle, I think is just more satisfying, and them playing little word games was fun. So we also see the development of new groups popping up, because at one point we cut to this group in a forest, and you've got you've got a father and his son, or appears to be a father and son, and he's telling his son about the creatures for the first time and just giving him tips of how to survive, how to use weapons. And they hear something in the woods and they kind of scatter to the side of the road. And later on, Ellie and Dina come across these people and they've been savagely killed. And this, particularly for Dina, is shocking because she doesn't have quite the same combat experience as Ellie, and she's not quite been brought up in the same way, where this is a bit more common. So it's obviously a shocking scene, but it's also quite a moving scene because of the way Ellie is sensitive to Dina. Like, this is someone she cares about, and Dina having to see this stuff is quite traumatic for her. I think she throws up at one point. So we are starting to open up the world again of The Last of Us, and we are starting to see more little factions, which probably makes sense. And as they finally get to Seattle, we do see like a military faction, and we do see that it's guarded by people and that there's basically an army. And we see Jeffrey Wright's character for the first time, who seems to be the leader of the group, this group anyway. And we see they've got tanks rolling down the street, all the rest of it. So it sets up then, by going to Seattle, Ellie and Dina are putting their lives in jeopardy, and that it's a lot more than they've ever faced before. So once again, bit of a filler episode, but an episode where we are starting to piece together more about the world, and some of the stuff in the town I at least did enjoy, and the setup for things to come. I actually quite liked the town meeting scene, I would say that. And we're going to get more of Ellie and Dina, which is a plus. So that's The Last of Us, The Path. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode in the comments below. Like and subscribe. Share me out on social media. And I'll see you guys again soon. Goodbye.